cannot describe it. I now feel like there's nothing I cannot do. And he came downstairs and he was telling me, Mommy, I can't find Daddy. Brought out my book to read. I read quite a bit, and then the turbulence started. It was like, okay. Hello beauties, welcome back to my channel. I hope you all are doing well. Welcome to the month of October. Happy new month to you all. If you're new to my channel, my name is Yemi, and this channel is all about inspiring you to own your life, live up to your potentials, and to be your best self. So please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, okay? Thank you. So I've been learning a lot from my environment and my recent experiences, and I was like, you know, why hold on to these lessons when I can easily share them with you guys so you can also learn from it and also save it for myself, you know, in the future. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing 5 lessons that I've learned lately, and I hope you enjoyed the video. So I'm going to give you guys a quick backstory into those experiences so that you guys can kind of get where the lessons came from and why it is so important to me, why I decided to share them with you guys, right? And I feel like it's going to stick, it will be easier to remember, and I also want to be able to remember the experience as well when I watch this video later in the future, okay? So for those of you who are new to my channel, I have 2 kids, a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, Daniel and Noah. So Daniel, Noah, and their dad were playing downstairs. They're playing this game of hide and seek. You guys know the popular childhood game now, hide and seek. So the seeker is supposed to count 1 to 10 while the hider goes to hide, right? So Daniel was the seeker. They were all doing this while I was cooking in the kitchen, right? So they were downstairs in the living area. So the kids turned towards my side where I was cooking in the kitchen so that their dad could go and hide. So I'm going to show you guys the spot where this whole thing happened. So as he was counting, he counted down to 6, and then he covered his eyes and, you know, just turned to see where the dad was hiding, just to get like a glimpse of where the dad is going. Is he going upstairs? He turned and he saw his dad open a particular door downstairs, and that is the door that leads to under the staircase where we keep the vacuum cleaner, I keep my lightning, I keep some things, just random things in the house, and you know, it's just a very dark area. So he just turned, he saw the dad going into that area, and then he covered his, and like he turned away and was counting down, kept counting down. So when he counted down to 10, you know, he's supposed to go and look for the dad, right? And then I saw him going upstairs, and I'm like, so why did you turn? Why did you turn to check where your dad was? If it's not to, you know, make the job easier for you. But then I thought he wanted to make the chase interesting, like he wanted the game to be interesting. So he wanted to go, you know, go about looking for the dad and then come back and open and say, tada, I found you. You know, that kind of stuff. So he went upstairs, he kept looking, he went to the bathroom, he went to their room, went to our room. He was just searching everywhere. And then he came downstairs and he was telling me, Mommy, I can't find Daddy. And I'm like, is everything okay with you? And then I told him, but you saw where Daddy was hiding. You saw where Daddy went to hide. I was like, no, I didn't see him. And then the younger brother, I told them, I told the younger brother, like, did you see your daddy? And he was pointing that Daddy is there, Daddy is there. And then he kept saying, no, I can't find Daddy. And I'm like, okay, go and open the door, you find Daddy. Because at that point, me, I was even tired. I wanted them to, you know, do another round because they take it in turns. So once you find the person, it will be their dad's turn to find them and something like that. So me, I was already getting tired of that particular spot because the essence of this game is so that they don't distract me from my cooking and they don't disturb me. So I was like, just go open the door and you find your dad. And then he was like, no, I can't find Daddy. He passed that door. He opened another door. He was checking inside the books. He was checking under the chair. And I'm like, just open that door and find your daddy. And then he said, Daddy, where are you? Come out. And the daddy said, I'm here. Come on, open the door. But he refused to open the door. At a point, he walked towards the door and then he came back. And then the thing kept going on and he was just going around. He went to search the places he had searched before and he refused to open that door. Even Noah, and Noah does everything his brother does. Even though Noah knew at the back of his mind that his dad was inside that place, but he didn't understand why the brother refused to open the door. So he also did not open the door. So eventually the dad came out because we all got tired of the old chase. And the dad came out and was like, tada, but I was here and everything. And we're like, why didn't you just open the door? Because I was really shocked. Like, why didn't you just open the door and, you know, find your dad? And then he was like, but that place is dark. I'm scared. I can't open the door. Then I told him, but your dad was inside. Like, it can't be that scary. Like, your dad is inside. He's like, no, it's dark. I'm scared. No. Thank God you're out. Like, they should continue the game. So my husband and I, we just looked at each other and we laughed. And then later in the day, we were talking about it and we're like, but you know, this is life. Like, what happened the other time is just the way we handle life, the way we see life. And we just started talking from there, you know. And that was like the point that, that was when we drew some of these lessons from, the first 2 lessons that I want to share with you guys. So the first lesson I learned from that experience is that sometimes we are afraid to do the work. Like, we know the truth about our situation, we know how we can, move past our predicament or our challenges, but sometimes we're just afraid to do the work, or we just don't want to do the work, right? And we would rather beat around the bush, we would go like cut corners, go through shortcuts, but we wouldn't do the thing we are supposed to do. Like, we would not solve the problem from the root. We would rather manage the consequences instead of going into the root. Like, why did this even happen? Like, what was the problem? What did I do wrong? Like, I don't know. Like, really go into the roots. We are just afraid to do the work. And when that thing happened and we're discussing it, I tried to look back into my own experience. I tried to internalize it to see if there's been areas of my life where I did that, like where I tried to move around and just manage things. And I realized that, yes, I did do that as well in my life. I knew that I worked so hard not to deal with the root cause of some of my problems, right? Just because I didn't want to deal with it. And I realized that sometimes we'll go around doing things so that people can see us. I mean, he was calling out to his dad to come out. He knew that the dad was inside. We know that that is the problem, but he kept on searching places that he has searched before, so that the mother will see, so that I will see that he is trying, and then force the dad out, or the father will hear that he's trying, and then he will be forced to come out. So sometimes that's how we behave. We go around doing things so that people can see that you are doing something, and then come to your aid and help you to do the work that you're not willing to do. I don't know, it could come off in different areas of life, but I feel like sometimes that's the problem for some people, and for some people it may be that you don't even know the problem, you don't even know where the person is hiding, but are you even willing to try? Are you even willing to know the problem? Are you willing to find out the root cause, or where you need to fix, or where you need to do the domino factor, like the one you need to focus on, instead of trying to manage the outcomes? That is the first lesson I learned from that experience. And then the second lesson I learned from that experience is that the good life wants you as much as you want the good life. It just reminds me of the lyrics in this song, The Goodness of God. This part that says, your goodness is running after me. I like that part in that song. I feel like the good life is running after you as much as you are chasing it. Like, it's just a matter of meeting. Like, I feel like, for example, with money now, we all want to make money, and money is the exchange. Money is the language everybody understands now. Like, money is the language for the good life now. Let's just put it that way, I feel like if money was a human being, money will derive joy from being spent. The joy comes in knowing that people are exchanging you for value. You're bringing happiness. Like, it was designed to bring joy to people. It was designed to be a means of exchange. Money will be happy seeing that when you give me out, you receive something that will make you happy. You will receive, like, that's the joy of money. So I don't think money will want to hoard itself from you, or the good life will want to hoard itself for you. The good life wants you as much as you want the good life. It's just a matter of doing the work. As much as, like, meeting each other at par, as it's running towards you, you are also doing the work, and you guys will meet quickly. If somebody is running towards you and you are not even doing the chase, it takes much longer. But when you're moving forward and that is coming, you guys meet quicker. I mean, just like the boy, like Daniel was trying to search for the father, the dad also wants to come out. Like, who wants to be in a dark place for a long time? Who wants to be hidden for a long time and doesn't want to be found? His father also wanted to be found just as much as he wanted to find the father. So that was just something that I picked from that situation, that as much as I want the good life also wants me. That's the father's intention for his children, like, for us to live a full and abundant life. So it's a matter of us doing the work, right? It's a matter of us being ready, being willing, being prepared, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, in all areas of life, preparing for that good life, because it's running after you. You to prepare and meet it somewhere. And this kind of relates to a video I watched from YouTube from Mpumi Ledwaba. You guys know that I'm a big fan of her, and she talks about, she's doing this challenge, Do It October, and then the challenge is about, preparing for the vision. As she said it, I was just like, yes, this just resonates with what I was just trying to tell my people in the video that I'm about to film, and it just makes perfect sense. So the first 2 lessons I learned from that situation, from that experience, is that, don't be afraid to do the work. Don't be afraid to take charge of your life. Don't be afraid to own your life, because at the end of the day, it's your life. And then the second lesson is that as much as you want the good life also wants you. So it's about meeting each other halfway. Okay, so that's the first experience, and those are the 2 lessons I learned from the first experience. Now, the next 3 lessons that I'm about to talk about are from this particular experience, which was the highlight of my month. In September, I traveled with my son on this fun trip. We went to renew our passport in another city and we flew there. And I did mention in that video that I was going to talk about the experience, but I felt like I was going to bore you guys with all the long story, and I decided to just include it in this video because I learned from that experience, and I'm actually sharing about lessons, so I don't need to do a separate video on that. Let me just share it. Let me just give you the backstory as quickly as I can. So you guys, if you don't know, you may not even know, but I'm very scared of heights. Like, I'm so scared of heights. I don't like flying. I remember the first time I climbed a pedestrian bridge. It was in that Lugbe pedestrian bridge in Abuja. I try as much as possible to avoid anything heights. It's just so scary. I always feel like something is going to pull me and I'm going to fall down. If you're scared of heights, I don't know if you can relate with this, but the first time I climbed that bridge, I was looking at the feet of the person in front of me, and I made sure I positioned myself in the middle. Yeah, it's that scary. Like, I'm so scared of heights. I had a dramatic experience with my husband, then boyfriend, with this particular situation. But I'm just very scared of heights. All the things they did during NYC, that climbing that is not even that high, I didn't do anything because I was also scared of heights. So I've always avoided flying. If I didn't need to, I just try to avoid it as much as possible. But this particular trip, we wanted to go and come back that day, and I begged my husband to book me on the high-speed train. I didn't mind 7 hours as opposed to the 2 hours flight. I didn't mind it. I told him I would do the stress. He said coming back would be stress. I said I didn't mind, but then he gave me the reason that I'm traveling with the son, and then there's a pandemic. With the high-speed train, people will get off at different stop, and then you're just going to be sitting with different people as opposed to the airplane. Of course, there are safety precautions for the 2 means of transportation, but then you just want to be safe. And then we also want to go back and come back that same day. My son also got cold just before that trip. In fact, that trip was just something else. And it was an early flight, so we left early. I was so scared of like, I was so anxious. I was so scared, guys. So when we got to the airport, I just needed to relax. Like, I needed to relax. And here was my son, so excited that I could not even share in his joy. Like, I was so tensed. So I remember that I had not done my morning devotion. So I picked up my phone, did my devotion, and that morning, I used this YouVersion Bible app. So that morning, the Bible scripture for the day was, I think, in Philippians chapter 4 verse 6. I can't remember, but it's this scripture that says, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is worthy of praise, if there be any of these things, think of these things. That's this. I know it's in Philippians, I'm not sure, 4 verse 6. I'm not sure. I've put the scripture on the screen. So that was so as I pondered upon it, and then I just started to receive this calm, this peace in my mind that, I think I've been focusing my mind, like I've been thinking about how something will just pull me down and everything, that I've become so tense, and it just brought my mind down. Everything just put me at ease. I don't know, that calmness just came from somewhere, and it just diverted my focus to God, So when we boarded the plane, my son was very excited. I could not even sit by the window seat. I knew he was going to sit by that side, and we're like in front, very close to the business class section. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to enjoy this trip because I was already calm at this point. So that was the first time ever I was able to look outside during takeoff, like look out of the window during takeoff. My son was there very excited, and I was just looking at him. I was just laughing, looking outside. And it was the very first time I was able to enjoy the beautiful scenery in the sky. Like, I've never really looked out of the window and enjoyed that serene, that peace, if those of you who are used to flying, you know what I'm talking about. Like, the sky was so blue, it was so beautiful, and I was just like, why have I never seen this? Like, why have I never gotten to this point that I would see the beauty in the sky? And it just reminded me of God's wisdom, God's beauty. Like, someone will sit down to imagine a bird and how a bird moves around from place to place, and think of us moving from one country to the other and imitate how a bird flies. And it just busted my mind, and I was just able to see the beauty and the wisdom of God, and how human beings have the nature of God, and how we can just, you know, tap into that. And that was the first lesson that I took from that place, is that, you know, sometimes you just need to shift your focus. I think that I've always, like, that's the third lesson now. So I've always focused on the negative aspect of my fears. So, you know, I feel like, you know, with fear, you're either focusing on the positive outcome, or you're focusing so much on the negative outcome. Oh, what if things don't go well? Or what if things don't go according to my plan? Or what if they disappoint me? Or what if she doesn't say yes? Or what if that you don't look at the what if, or what if she says yes? Or what if things turns out well? I never saw flying or the airplane as a means of transportation to take me to somewhere else. I just saw it as something that when I enter, I'm going to fall down. That I missed that, like, I remember the flight from Nigeria to China. I did not sleep all through. Like, I had this terrible headache for days, because I could not sleep throughout the flight. I was just anxious. Like, my heart was in my throat like this. My husband can tell you that the last flight we came together from Harbin to Hangzhou, like, I was literally holding, like, it was like relaxed. I couldn't just relax. You guys, if there's anybody that, you know, you're scared of something, you have fears, there's something you want to do now, and you're just afraid that, you know, something bad will happen, I just feel like, you know, face your fears, but then you can face it by focusing on the positive aspect of it. Like, just focus on the positive. It's about our perspective. That's the first lesson I learned. You know, with my fears, I watched the landing, I watched my son, and the calmness from that trip just made me so calm throughout the trip. Like, I enjoyed my trip. Now, the next two lessons are from the return flight. Now, you guys, so coming back from that flight, like, the return flight now was supposed to be in the evening. So it was supposed to be for 6:50. Now, getting to the airport, the flight was delayed, and they kept, like, shifting it, like, due to bad weather. And it was that point that I started to become nervous again. I started to become anxious again, that, oh, and before even going to the airport, I knew that, okay, my evening flight, there's going to be, because, like, the weather has changed now. So in the evenings, there's a little bit of wind. So I'm already like, okay, turbulence. And prior to, I think one of my fears is that turbulence causes a flight to fall down, you know? You guys, I have the wildest imagination when it comes to my fears. So I'm like, okay, it's going to be windy. There's going to be there's going to be turbulence. So I have to just brace up. I have to prepare myself for this. I have to do that. And when I got to the airport and then the flight got delayed again, I was like, oh, the more it gets into night time, the more wind you have, you know. And I'm like, oh, can't they just move? Like, and the flight did not take off until like 8 p.m. So I was like, you know what? And then I just reminded myself again of that scripture, and then I tried to calm down a little bit, and then we got on the flight. I hope this video is not going to be too long, but I don't want to miss out on any of the details so that you guys can really understand why, and also for myself when I watch this video in the future, you know. So returning back, when we boarded the flight, my son was already tired. He wasn't as excited as before, but he also wanted to see the takeoff at night time, you know. So at the point he slept off, at the point he got up to eat, but he wasn't really active as he was in, like, when we were going. So at that point, I couldn't tap into his joy and excitement, you know. I had to depend on my own excitement now. So when we were going, it was smooth, we took off and everything, but the pilot already announced that there's going to be a lot of turbulence and everything. So I was like, you know what, I'm fine, I'm relaxed and everything. I even brought out my book to read. I read quite a bit, and then the turbulence started. It was like, okay, like, the turbulence started off lightly, and, you know, it was just light at first, and then I was like, okay, you know, I was like, as I experienced it, I'm not even going to lie, I was a bit shaking, and, you know, I was just trying to calm myself down. Whenever it happens, I just relax. And then I couldn't look outside this time at night, but then I said, you know what, look outside again. And then I started to look outside. I started to, you know, just look outside, and then it just put me at ease. But then because I was looking outside, I just at a point I just saw flashes like lightning or something. I just saw flashes, like, it wasn't just me. Everybody was looking, like, everybody just started to look out, like, it was serious turbulence, like, it was flashes, and then we're shaking and everything. I was like, wow. At first, I was a bit shaking, but then I continued to look at it, and then I noticed something, that anytime we are in the midst of, like, there's a turbulence, the engine, like the sound of the engine changes. Like it's more intense when, the engine sound is more intense. I don't know if it's me, but that was what happened, you guys. This was my experience. The engine sound changes, and then the plane goes up, and then we don't experience that turbulence. And then we experience it again, it comes down. So I noticed a movement, a shift up and down, and then the sound of the engine. So when we get to a stable place, I didn't hear the sound, and I was still looking outside at this point. But then I wasn't stressed, I wasn't tense at this point. I was just learning. I was just developing this hypothesis. I was so present in that experience that I was not panicking, but I was absorbing everything that was happening in that flight. So I noticed the sound, the change in the engine, and I also noticed the movement in the the navigation from the. So when we got out of the turbulence, like the stable part, we're getting ready to land now, I started to think about, what I just experienced. Like, why was the engine sound different? Why was the navigation different? Why were they going up and down? Why was it so different? And I started to form this hypothesis. I'm not a scientist, guys, but I just started to form this hypothesis in my mind that, okay, when there is a challenge, when there is a turbulence, the pilot can navigate, and then the engine, and I used to think that turbulence can bring down a plane. But then in that moment, I started to convince myself that turbulence cannot bring down a plane. It's the engine, it's the malfunction. I don't know anything about planes. Like I said, I'm scared of heights, so this might not be new information for some people, And I started to tell myself that actually turbulence cannot bring down a plane. I started to bring out information from that experience to remind myself that my fears were wrong. Like the story I used to tell myself about flying was wrong. So I started to tell myself that it's not turbulence that brings down a plane, it's the engine. The engine of the plane is what carries the plane. It's not the challenges in the environment, in the air. It's not the turbulence in the air. It's about the engine, and also the navigation of the pilot. And I was just forming all of these hypotheses in my head that no, it depends on the skill of the pilot and the engine and everything. And I was like, you know what? All of these things is just in my head. I'm going to go and Google about airplane and crash and everything when I get home, because I was just like overwhelmed with what I learned. And then the plane landed. I was so excited. I got home and I was just telling my husband, like, I couldn't even stop talking about it, even though I was so tired from the trip. And my son was already sleeping, like he slept off. I carried him. I had to drag him upstairs when we got down from the taxi. But I was so excited. I was just telling my husband everything. And he was like, you see? And he was so excited for me. And I was like, you know what? He even told me that I should share this with my audience, like maybe I will have somebody who has fears of flying too. But I was like, no, let me take my time. I did write it in my journal, but over time I realized that I was going to share the experience with you guys. But anyway, so I decided that I was going to Google and to see everything that had happened. So the next day I went on Google and I Googled about airplanes and crashes and everything. And you guys know, to my surprise, the last time turbulence crashed a plane was in 1966. That was the last time, except the information I saw on Google is wrong. That was the last time turbulence crashed a plane, in 1966. So every of the crashes that we have seen. Another thing I kept telling myself on the flight was that no wonder, I knew before that time that most crashes happen during takeoff and during landing, So I was telling myself that, okay, that's why crashes happen, because the engine is at its peak, like it works at its maximum potential, like it is stretched when it is taking off and when it is landing. That's why if any mechanical fault is going to happen, it takes place at that time, because at that's the point that engine is stretched, So I Googled it and I realized that all of this information that I was telling myself was true. So apparently the modern day aircraft have been designed in a way that the engines can withstand the highest storm, the highest wind, all things being equal. This is human capacity, human wisdom, okay? All things being equal, the aircraft have been designed in a way that, the plane can withstand any wind, any of that. And that's the first thing I saw. And then another thing I saw is that the pilots have also been trained. The modern day pilots now have also been trained in a way that they can navigate tough situation. So I now recall that maybe that's why it was going up and down and the engine was changing sound, and I was super excited when I saw that on Google, that all of these things I was telling myself, to, like, truth be told, I have never researched on, like, that was my first time. And to think that I was thinking about these things while I was present. So another lesson I learned, which is the fourth lesson now, is to always be present in your experiences. All this hard life that we live, this fast life, you're going to work, you're in a hurry, blah, 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 blah. Just try to be present. Like this slow living that Asians and people, everybody is adopting now. I think it's quite interesting, just try to be present in your environment. Try to be present in your experience. When you're drinking tea, try to absorb the flavor. When you're eating, just try to be present in your everyday experience. You don't even know what you're going to learn. It's not that hard. It's not like you're it's not like you've turned yourself into researcher, but just being present, just enjoying the moment. Because if I wasn't present in that airplane, I wouldn't have seen all the things that I saw. I wouldn't have seen the beauty. I wouldn't have even understood what happens in a plane. I wouldn't have, like, now when I look outside and I see a plane flying, I'm excited, like I'm laughing. I feel like I now know something. You guys, I just feel like really excited. And that is something that experience taught me, that, we can learn to be present in our experiences. We don't need to live in this hurry, fast life. You can live slowly and peacefully and just enjoy everything that you're doing. If you're with your kids, be present. If you're at work, be present. If you're with your friends, be present. Let's try to keep our cell phones. Let's try to, reduce our anxiety. Just be present in your experiences. And then the final thing that I learned, the third lesson I learned in this particular experience, which is the fifth lesson I'm going to talk about today, is the fact that you don't know how much you are capable of until you try to do something. You don't know how much you're capable of doing until you start doing something, right? The confidence that I got, the confidence I had in myself after Googling something, and I realized that what I was telling myself on the plane is actually true, I cannot describe it. I now feel like there's nothing I cannot do. You guys, I feel like there's nothing I cannot do except I don't want to do it. I feel like if I can get on the plane, think things, come up with hypotheses, tell myself stories, maybe just to alleviate my fears, but it turned out to be true. And that's it. I wouldn't have known it was true. I would have just thought it's something I made up in my head if I did not go to Google it, right? So, me going through all that process just reminded me that I'm capable of much more than I'm even thinking about myself. And, we are capable of a lot. Like I said in my previous video, that we're multidimensional human beings. And you would never know how much power, how much you carry until you start doing something. Because the more you do something, the more your capacity, that part of your brain is stretched, it's exercised, it adapts to that new lifestyle. It made me so confident in myself. Like, nobody can tell me anything. I can do anything. I can do anything. Through God helping me. Like, because the mind to think, I forgot this lesson, and this is going to be like a bonus. Another thing I did with that experience is that I related that flight experience with human life, like with human beings. You are the plane, like your body, everything is the plane. You yourself now, your conscious self now, your body is like the plane that you're carrying around. You yourself now, you're the pilot. But the brain, the engine of yourself now is your brain, your mind, right? So we have been designed, God has created us with the mind, with the brain. That is the engine. Just like the manufacturer of these modern day airplanes, I've designed it in a way that it can withstand any storm, any wind. We have been given that mindset of God. We have been given the mind of Christ. We have been given the brain. God have designed us perfectly. We are perfectly, wonderfully made, that everything that pertains to life, we have been given it here in our mind. We just need to do the work. And that's where the pilot, even though the designer have designed the engine, have designed the airplane, the pilot that is driving this airplane needs skills. Now, it is up to the pilot to upgrade himself, to learn the new skills, to know what, like, these trainings are not the training that they will probably learn when they are in the first year of pilot school. It's something that they will learn as they grow. Maybe as they fly the first one, they will not teach them, okay, this is what you add on. So it is the responsibility of the pilot to acquire these skills, to learn, you know. That's the same thing, that it is our responsibility to know how to learn the best use of our mind, how to use your brain, the engine that God has given you. And the fact that I did use my mind, I did use my brain when I was in that situation, gave me that confidence that I can do anything, you know. So long God is on my side, he has already given me this mind. I just need to lean on him, and I just need to depend on him, and he's going to give me more wisdom through my mind, you know. So it's just something I wanted to put out there, and, you know, just to share with you guys that I know I may sound nerdy, I may sound too techie, or I may sound too, I don't know how to put it, but that's just it. So everything you need to maneuver challenges, you know, Nigeria is tough, there's a pandemic, you know, you don't have certain privileges, but everything you need, you've got it, and it's here in your mind. You have to use your mind, you have to use your brain to discover those things that you have been equipped with to maneuver life, you know. So anyway, that's just it. Those are the lessons I've learned. I don't want this video to be super long. I know it's already long, but those are the lessons I've learned lately, and I thought to share them with you guys. If you are in a place where you want to take charge of your life and you want to live a life of freedom, then the best resource for you is my ebook, The Smart Girl's Guide to Freedom. It's not just for young adults. You know, the principles there can help you to maneuver life challenges. There's a section of the book that talks about building resilience. There's a part of the book that talks about discovering your unique assets. There's a part of the book that talks about redefining yourself and, you know, how to thrive and all of that, you know. The book is full of principles. I'm not just giving you guys, it's a book full of principles. So anyway, if you are interested and you want to download the copy, I have the link in my bio, and I'll also highly advise or suggest to you that you should join my mailing list, because I share a lot of goodies. I give them a lot of templates, the people on my mailing list. I share some assessments, some templates, and you would really enjoy receiving my mails, you know. So please, there's a link in the description box as well if you want to sign up to join my mailing list. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much for your patience. I really appreciate your time, and I'll see you guys in my next video. You are amazing, and I love you all. Bye.